gentlemen, would you please welcome to the stage for his induction as the newest member of the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, Tramon Williams.
The Green Bay Packers and Packer fans everywhere, I want to present to you this bronze football in recognition of your amazing accomplishments as a Green Bay Packer and your well-deserved induction into the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Let's show the crowd.
Man, this is amazing. It's amazing. Who we got out there? Russ, Goody, where y'all at? I done heard about 50 times that I'm still in shape. Hey, I'm ready to go. I am ready to go. I'm ready to go, man. Man, I'd like to first thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ just for the journey. Just for the journey, man. It's been amazing. The Hall of Fame committee, everyone who was involved of getting me inducted, I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all. Sam, I don't know where you at, but I appreciate you, man. We was going all over the place, all 3 months or 4 months, man. You were making sure you had all the T's crossed and the I's dotted for make sure me and my family was doing well, so we appreciate you. My man Earl, hey, congratulations, brother. Congratulations, man. You earned it. We earned it. You waited a little while, but guess what? It's God's timing, man. It's God's timing. I appreciate it, man. And my brother Rodney, he tried to make me cry, y'all. And I was right there. I was right there, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I still may get there, I don't know. But, man, I signed with this guy right here, out of college. He called me up all the time trying to get me to talk, and matter of fact, he was in the Rodney who called me up. He had another guy named Rodney called me up. He had a partner named Lil Rodney, and he was Big Rodney. He's Big Rodney, but nonetheless, I initially signed with some other guys, another agency, and I prayed. And 2 weeks later, I felt like, man, I don't think this is the right decision. So all I can remember is the guy who I was having great conversations with, which was Lil Rodney. And Lil Rodney's not here, but Lil Rodney, I appreciate you, brother, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have found my brother right here, Big Rodney. Thank you. But nonetheless, I called Lil Rodney up and I told him that I want to sign with the agency. And man, they did everything they could, man, to get me to Houston, get me all set up. And they got me down there as quick as possible. Now, the one thing I'm gonna tell you about Rodney, I didn't meet him until I get there. I didn't even know who he was initially. But when I got there, me and him began to just kind of get close. I realized he was a genuine person, and we just began to talk every single day. If he didn't talk to me, he called my wife. And we were that close. And if you know Rodney, he's a family man, and he's bred it into a football family. His brother, the reason why he got into the business was his brother, Michael Lewis, Pro Bowl safety for the Philadelphia Eagles, he decided he wanted to get into the business because he didn't want nobody to mess over his brother. Now he had 2 nephews who play for the Atlanta Falcons. He has another nephew right now who's the #1 running back in Texas right now. And he just had another nephew who just signed with Vanderbilt. So this guy knows his sports, and he was bred into a football family. And the fact that he got into the business because he wanted to protect his brothers, he immediately began to treat me like a brother. And I appreciate that, man. So one of the things that I've always thought about myself, a mantra that I always said was that I was self-made. And I said I was self-made because the way that I came up, the journey that I had, I didn't feel like no one tried to help me out. I felt like I got it on my own. I felt like I got it out the mud. And the more I just sit here and I think about it, man, that was a lie. I was never self-made. I can't get up here and stand up here and talk to y'all right now and say that no one helped me. I can't do that. And it started off, one, with my parents, Ted and Jackie. Ted and Jackie, right? My mom and my dad, man, they built me on a family of faith. That was first and foremost. Then it was everything else. Then it was the values, the morals. All of those things came with it. Everybody know my mom. My mom is the lady in the community that nobody mess with. Nobody mess with, man. And my dad, he just always carried a presence in a home just like a father should do. So Mom, Dad, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Now, all that I just said about my mom and my dad, it wouldn't mean nothing if my brother didn't follow them same rules. My older brother, that was my role model right there. I watched everything he did, and I just tried to emulate what he did. And as I said before, if he wouldn't have followed those rules, I wouldn't have followed those rules. So big bro, I thank you. We was competitive too. Now you know how big brothers is now. They try to beat up on little brothers, man. We used to go out in the backyard. Kids nowadays don't do that no more. They on their iPads, but but we used to go out in the backyard, man. We used to play basketball, and man, I just couldn't beat him, man. I couldn't get around him, man. So instead of trying to go around him, I said, man, I'm just gonna go through you, man. I can't go around him. I'm gonna go through you, man. And I always tell him, man, that's how I became good at football. But man, I appreciate you, bro. Love you, man. Woo. Come on. All right, I got my mother-in-law here, who I love dearly. Tomorrow, Rodney called it yesterday. But man, anytime we called her, she showed up for us. When we had our kids here in Green Bay, she showed up for us. Me and my wife, we started to do a Powder Puff game here, and we started working with American Cancer Society here in Green Bay, and all of that was inspired by Tomorrow, because she was going through cancer at the time. And as you can see, she's sitting here right now. She's beat it, and she ain't never looked back. My wife and my kids. I love y'all. I love y'all. This who I do it for. This who I did it for. My babies. They special. They special, and I hope y'all know that. I hope y'all know that y'all special. Y'all have special abilities, physically gifted, mentally, socially gifted, but more than anything, y'all know y'all gotta keep God first. That's everything. If you don't do that, you can't do nothing. And my wife, hey, we've been rocking since college. Remember, I was a walk-on in college. My wife, she was a big-time recruit, basketball. She was the player of the year, and she went overseas, played professionally. So she got game. She got game. But man, it's no one easier to go on that journey with than my wife, man, because she understood everything that I was going through. She was right there with me. She was encouraging me the whole time. When things were high and when things were low, she was always there to encourage me to keep going. And babe, I love you for that. My brother Leroy, Lee, where you at? It's my strength and conditioning coach, y'all. Man, we've been rocking since I left from college also. I've only had one agent. I've only had one strength and conditioning coach. I'm a guy with about stability. Man, he crazy. He crazy. We call him the mad scientist. We call him the mad scientist, man. He just eats, sleep, and dream workouts. Brother, Lee, you remember, man, I drove all the way 5 hours from Louisiana, all the way to Houston, straight to the field, because we had a job to do. Didn't take no breaks, didn't stop to use the bathroom, came straight to the field and we got to work. That was our introduction. And we always carried a mantra, total performance fitness, where we outwork everybody. That's what we do. That's what I've always done. So Lee, I appreciate you for instilling that in me, man. Thank you. I'd like to say some thank yous. Mark Murphy. Mark, you were always one of my favorite, man. You were always one of my favorite. You and your family always treated me and my family like we was part of yours. And for that, man, I thank you. We got the late, great Ted Thompson. Man, I thank Ted because he gave a young, hungry, bayou boy, country boy from Louisiana, an opportunity to live out his dream. I thank you for that, Ted. Thank you. I'd like to thank Alonzo Highsmith and Elliot Wolf. Those were two of the guys who were instrumental in getting me here in Green Bay. Those guys probably was the guys who were in the room standing up on tables trying to get me here. And if you guys know Zoe, man, Zoe is a straight up guy. He's always had a way with me of inspiring me to keep that chip on my shoulder, man, and just always give all that I got. So, man, those two guys, I appreciate you guys. I'd like to also thank John Snyder. I've had probably the most important conversations of my career with John when I came in 06 and I was signed to the practice squad. I was signed to the practice squad and I had to re-sign at the end of the practice squad. Now, typically at the end of the season, we will meet with our coach. But I end up meeting with John Snyder. And one of the things that John told me was, he said, he said, I hope you know that we didn't bring you in here to be a practice squad player, but we brought you in here to play. And that did so much for me because I was an undrafted guy. I was always overlooked. I felt like a ghost in a lot of rooms, even when I was making plays. The fact that a guy of his caliber came to me and simply poured into me and told me that I was here to play, that changed my mindset completely. I really believed at that moment that I belonged. And I knew that Green Bay was the place that I belonged. So John, I know you're gonna see this. Thank you. I got some coaches who I wanna get. Coach Mike. I know Mike is out in Pittsburgh right now, trying to get ready to run it back again with Aaron behind center, so you know how that go. But Coach Mike, man, Coach Mike always encouraged us to be ourselves. I can remember the second time I came back, and I went up to Coach Mike's office, and man, we didn't do nothing but sit there and talk about our family and fate for 2 hours. That's the kind of guy that Mike was. So Mike, I appreciate you, brother. Coach LaFleur, I got the opportunity to see you when you came in. Young guy, around my age. I said, man, let me see how this guy gonna come in, man. I don't know, man. Kinda young. But nonetheless, man, I knew if the Packers trusted you, I trusted you. And when you came in, you did the job you were supposed to do, and you continue to do it. I trust that you're gonna give us an opportunity to bring another Lombardi home, and I hold you to that. I got a couple of my DB coaches who coached me. Lionel Washington, we call him Speedy, and Joe Witt. They were two of my guys right there. Speedy was a guy who played a long time in the league, so coaching us was effortless. It wasn't much he really had to say. He's a hometown guy for me. Speedy is a Louisiana guy, and I've always appreciated Speedy, the way that he coached me. He let me be and to develop into the player that I became. And then Joe Witt was a completely different style coach. Joe came in, man, just with a passion to coach. If you see him in a room, he can command the room. But one thing that I love about Joe more than anything, that he believed in me like nobody else did. And Joe, I know you're not here right now, but I appreciate you, brother, from the heart. Just some guys who took care of me when I was here. Flea and Nate. I know they probably not here. They probably got meetings and things like that, taking care of guys right now. But Flea and Nate, man, those guys were the guys who, when we got hurt, they were always working around the clock to make sure that we can get back on that field. I always appreciate those guys. Thank y'all. I want to mention just a few of my teammates who are here, and some of them who's not. I want to mention Charles and Al. When I came in, man, that's the two guys who was in front of me. Those guys was a big part of my maturation process as a corner. You all know how great those guys was. When I step in a room with greatness, to me, that's the standard. I don't want to be the weak link. So when I came in, I got up under those guys. Those guys taught me everything that they know, and they didn't have to do that. So Charles, Al, I know y'all gonna see this, man. I love y'all, brother. Thank you. I got some of my teammates here. I just want to let them know that I love them. That's it right now. I got my brother, Nick Collins, James Jones, Morgan Burnett, and their wives. Those guys, that's my family right there. That's my family. And their wives. and their wives. Y'all gotta book another vacation for us, or we gonna have an issue. Last but not least for me right now, I got a good story behind this. I think y'all appreciate this. Brian Gutekunst, Russ Ball. I got something for y'all. Goody and Russ, you two gave me the opportunity to end my career where I wanted to end it at. I didn't only sign here one time, not 2 times, but 3 times. That's unheard of. That's unheard of. Once, yeah, that's gonna happen. Twice, that'll happen too, but 3 times, rarely happens. And I got a story behind that. And what I want y'all to know is, throughout this journey, how God really worked through my life and my career. As Rodney told y'all earlier, any big decision that I make, I gotta pray about it. I gotta pray about it. And anytime that I pray, God always give me a clear vision of what it is and what to do. And in this case right here, he did that. When I finished in Arizona, I didn't know exactly what my next move was gonna be. I just simply, like Rodney said, I'm just simply a patient person. So what I did know that I was gonna be patient and I was gonna wait on those signs to come. So I prayed as I always do. And this specific weekend, my grandmother and her friend came to my house. And they came spend a weekend with us. And me and my cousin, Stella, which she has the gift of prophesying. So she came into the house, and me and Stella, you know, you and elderly people, I love talking to elderly people because they just have so much wisdom. But she came in, and we was just talking about God. We were just talking about how good God is. And she told me, she said, well, baby, I'm talking just like she talked. Well, baby, I like to pray before I go to sleep. And I say, well, Stella, I like to get up between the hours of 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And I just like to feel the presence of God. So, nonetheless, she said, okay. She said, well, I'm gonna try that then. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna make sure I get up, and I'm gonna pray between the hours of 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So nonetheless, we go to sleep that night. I get up that morning, I come in. My grandmother's at the table, Stella's sitting at the table. I go over and I hug my grandmother, and then I come over and I hug Stella. But while I'm going in to hug her, she stopped me and she grabbed my hand. And she said, Tramon, she said, let me tell you what happened to me last night. She said, when I got up in the morning, she said, all I saw was the color green. And she told me, she said, God said, don't worry about that contract. She said, it's just there waiting for you to sign. I'm gonna make a long story short. 4 days later, I was flying up to Green Bay to sign that contract. That was my second time signing here. Now, I played my 2 years out. Played my 2 years out here, and I had to make a decision. Will I retire or not? The plan was to retire. So I knew I was retired, but I was looking at the team, and I just knew it was still a little bit meat on the bones. I knew it was still a little bit meat on the bones. So I continued to train, but in reality, I was really retired. And I told Rodney, I said, anybody who called, if it's not the Packers, I said, tell them I'm retired. So there's about 6 or 7 teams called. They were all playoffs teams, and they were calling, and they wanted me to come in. Rodney said, what you want me to do? Tell them I'm retired. So this was happening week to week. And we got to week 8. Green Bay come in. They go to Houston. They play Houston. Me, Rodney, and my son T2, we go to the game. I get a chance to see some of my friends, some of my teammates, some of the coaches, and I kind of get inspired again. And I was like, oh man, they're gonna need me. I can feel it. I can feel it. But nonetheless, when I left from that game, I said, man, I know what I said. And I went back into prayer. I said, Lord, I know what I said. But you know what? What do you have for me? And I said, to make it clear for me. So this specific week right here, Rodney called me up and he said, Baltimore calling. I said, tell him I'm retired. Tell him I'm retired. And the specific Friday, me and my wife get up. Every Friday since I've been retired, me and my wife go on a lunch date. I take my wife on a lunch date every Friday, still till today. I take her on a lunch date and we go eat. This specific Friday we go and we eat. And we go eat at this spot called the Taste Bar in Houston. It was new, it was hard to get in, but this specific day we got in. So we went and we ate, and we had some friends who called us. And they said, hey, y'all wanna go eat something? Me and my wife was like, we already out, but just let us know where y'all are, and we'll come over there and we'll hang out. One of my friends, he's in here somewhere. We went at a spot called Rupor in Houston, one of our favorite spots. So we went and we sat and we chilled and we ate. We might have had a couple drinks. I ain't gonna say how many, but we did. And then we finished up and I was walking outside to my truck and my wife tapped me. She said, babe, look. I looked to my right and it was a couple, a husband and wife, sitting in the middle of Houston on a patio with Baltimore Ravens jerseys on. I said, oh, Lord. I said, oh. So, nonetheless, we went home and we had a movie that we already had planned to watch. It was called Charm City Kings. So, we go home, we begin to watch this movie. And man, we sitting here and we watching this movie, and everything in this movie is in Baltimore. And I said, Lord, why did I pray this prayer? Because I already said that I don't want to play for nobody else but the Packers, but clearly he's showing me what to do and telling me what to do. So my wife saw me, I was just sitting there in a trance, and she tapped me, she said, babe, what you thinking about? I looked at her and I said, probably the same thing you thinking about, because she saw everything that I saw. So nonetheless, Rodney called about 2 hours later. Man, Baltimore called me again. They really trying to get you in. And I could have easily said, no, I'll tell him I'm retired. But man, all the signs was there in that day. And I told Rodney, I said, man, tell him I'll come work out for him. So I went work out for Baltimore. I flew up there and it was COVID season. So now in COVID season, when you fly in, you gotta sit down for 6 days. You can't work out for 6 days because you gotta pass 6 COVID tests before you're able to do anything. So I was like, man, I'm not trying to do this. I don't even wanna be here. I'm not doing this. But nonetheless, I want to obey what I saw. I want to obey God. So I flew there and I sat there for 6 days. I went to the field, I got some work in, and then it was time to work out. So I went in and I worked out. And after that workout, I had a conversation with Coach Harbaugh, and he said, man, he said, I'm not gonna lie to you, I ain't never seen a 37-year-old come in and look like that. And then he said, man, we wanna sign you. So now I put the ball back in Rodney's court. So now Rodney got a closer deal. And I didn't want to be one of those guys who want to just jump on a team and the team just get rid of me after 2 years. I felt my legacy was too good for that, I'll be honest with you. But Baltimore, we asked Baltimore just to make sure that we at least had 3 games in. And Baltimore said that, man, we won't do you like that. So we trusted that and we signed that contract. After we signed the contract, we simply I went through the season and I had a good season, and we got to the playoffs, and I began to feel distress. I'm not gonna lie to you. I began to feel distress, and Rodney can tell you. I started to vent to him. We was in the playoffs. We had just finished beating Tennessee, and I started venting to Rodney, and I said, man, listen. I said, I feel like in Baltimore we got a team that we can win a championship. But man, the Packers got a team that they can win the championship too. And I said, we play them in the Super Bowl. I said, but this gonna be a nightmare. So nonetheless, man, they had this specific rule this year, a COVID rule that if you lose in the playoffs, you can go to another team and play. So Rodney brought that to me. He said, T, man, listen, hey, if y'all lose, man, we have Buffalo the next week. He said, man, if y'all lose, he said, man, you can go and you can ask for your release and you can go somewhere else. So nonetheless, we went play Buffalo, and it was a good game. It was tied up the whole game, 10-10. We got into the fourth quarter. Lamar threw a pick six. Game over. So now it's the next day. Rodney called me up. He said, T, you still want to go through with it? I said, yeah. I said, let's do it. So he called up the GM, which is Eric DeCosta, and Rodney called me back. He said, they ain't doing it. He said, man, do you have Eric's number? He said, I think it'll be better if he hear it from you. So nonetheless, I got the number from Rodney, and I called Eric up. And he didn't answer the phone the first time I left him a voicemail. About 3 minutes later, he called back. And I said, Eric, first and foremost, I want to just thank you for bringing me in to just be a part of the Baltimore Ravens organization. Man, I had a great time here, but I feel like there's opportunity elsewhere. And I said, in order for that to happen, you guys will have to release me. So Eric kind of paused for a second, and he said, T, he said, man, we've been watching your career for a long time. He said, we respect what you've done in this league. He said, man, for anybody else, he said, we wouldn't do it. He said, but for you, we'll do it. And I was like, man, wow. This thing might be happening. So nonetheless, they released me. They let me go. Now, if you guys know about being let go, you got the waiver wire that you got to make it through now. You got a 24-hour period. In Baltimore, it's 5 o'clock. In Green Bay, it's 4 o'clock. So they put me on the waiver wire, and now I got to wait 24 hours, hoping that I don't get picked up by anybody else. And nonetheless, we go through that waiver wire, and it's 4:53 Baltimore time. And Rodney give me a call. He said, T, have you heard something, man? I said, nah, I haven't heard anything, man. So we just kind of talked for a little while longer. And then 5 o'clock hit, and me and Rodney still talking. And Rodney said, hold on, T, I got somebody on the other line. So he clicks over. He was on the phone maybe for a minute or so. And he clicked back over to me. He said, T, he said, that was Green Bay. They want to sign you. I said, what? Man, that was crazy. And then I had to make it back to Green Bay, though. I still had other hurdles to cross. So now me and Rodney, we was putting our faith into works. We didn't know it, but we was really putting our faith into works. So we had to make it to Green Bay now. I don't know if you guys remember Jared Verdier, but he was one of my teammates in Arizona. And Green Bay tried to pick him up the week before that, and he didn't pass the COVID test. He was going to be the first person to play for 2 NFL teams in the playoffs. But that didn't happen, which left the door open for somebody else to do it. So now I just have to get in, and I have to pass the COVID test. So now we were trying to figure out how I'm going to get to Green Bay, because in the transition, Jared, he got COVID. So they was like, man, T, you can drive? I was like, nah, man, I can't drive, dog. I can't drive. But they was like, you know what, man, you one of our guys. You're one of our guys. So they got me there. put me on a plane by myself. I appreciate that. And got me here because I was one of their guys. This was the organization that chose me. Goody, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, and I want you guys to understand this. God, he's alive, he's active, and he's personable. And if you seek him with your whole heart, I guarantee you'll find him. He did it for me. I know he'll do it for you. Everybody who showed up tonight, man, I appreciate you guys. Earl, I appreciate you, brother. God's timing. To all the fans, to everybody, to my family who all showed up, I appreciate and I love you guys. Thank you guys. Go Pack Go.